that they were striving for. So they knew it. They were told about it by their God. And that's why they decided to choose this path that they chose. And then we continue. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن تنصروا الله ينصركم ويثبت أقدامكم. O you who have believed, if you help Allah, He will help you and make your feet steady. Of course, this is a very interesting sentence or expression that pops up in the Quran quite often. The call from God to the believers to help Him. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in tansurullah. Oh, you believe if you help Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or as we have in other surahs, for example, in Surah Al-Saf, where Prophet Isa alayhi salam says to his followers, إذ قال عيسى ابن مريم للحواريين من أنصاري إلى الله. When Isa, the son of Mary, said to the Hawariyun, his disciples, who of you will be my helpers in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? من أنصاري إلى الله. قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله. The Hawariyun said, we are the Ansar of Allah. We are the helpers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or we have يا الذين آمنوا كونوا أنصار الله كما قال عيسى. Oh, you believe, be the helpers of Allah, just like Isa said to the Hawariyun. Or in Surah Al-Hadid, وأنزلنا الحديد فيه بأس شديد ومنافع للناس وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهَ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ وَرُسُلَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ. And certainly we have sent down iron. In it are there is great military might. Of course, iron is the main tool, or metals, let's say, are the main tools that we use for warfare, isn't it? Even today, steel has a very important role with tanks and airplanes and whatnot, and bullets, and all these things are made out of various metals. But of course in the past, very clearly, the metal armor and swords and things that people used. So, فيه بأس شديد, there's great military might in it. وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ, and of course many other benefits as well. And then Allah is saying that He sent down this iron. Of course, sending down here doesn't mean literally falling from the sky. Although there are, of course, theories that when the earth was forming, it was hit by metal-bearing meteors, which when it was still hot, and then that's why Earth has an iron core, because it sort of came from outer space. Some have said this is one of the meanings of anzalna, that it literally came down from the heavens. Of course, coming down is, in space there is no direction in that sense, but coming down to the earth. Of course, usually of course anzalna in the Quran, when it's in this other context, it means inzalul mawhibat, the sending down of blessings. So when وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ لِبَاسًا, Allah says, we've sent down to you clothing. Again, doesn't mean literally clothing fell from the sky. It means that it's given as a blessing to mankind, so that we can cover our shame and so on and so forth. Other things that have come down as cattle, Allah says He sent down in the Quran. All these things, of course, not they're raining from the sky, but it's coming down as blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have sent down as a blessing this iron. Why? For these purposes. وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ وَرُسُلَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ. And so that Allah may know who will help Him and His messengers. So this sort of call for helping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that comes often in the Quran, but it's of course quite confusing to some maybe. That, okay, why is Allah in need of help? Why is He asking us for help? Why is Isa alayhi salam calling for the Hawariyun for aid? Why isn't He calling Allah for aid? Why is Allah telling to us, يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُونُوا أَنصَارَ اللَّهِ? Oh, you believe, be the Ansar of Allah, be the helpers of God. Just like in Surah Al-Hadid, in the end of the verse, Allah finishes, وَاللَّهُ قَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Allah is mighty and strong. So if Allah is mighty and strong, why is this call for aid sort of coming down here? Well, this is similar to other verses in the Quran that might make us question that, okay, shouldn't Allah be the one giving instead of asking? Like with the sadaqah, Allah says, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Who of you will be the one who will give Allah a loan, a qardul hasana, a goodly loan? فَيُضَاعِفَهُ لَهُ وَلَهُ أَجْرٌ كَرِيمٌ. And Allah will then increase that loan for him. When He gives it back to him, He'll give it with riba, with interest. So riba for Allah is allowed. He will give manyfold. You give 100 euros as sadaqah, you will get 100 million euros equal in paradise of rewards, or more. فَيُضَاعِفُ. Allah will multiply it in this world and the next. So some might read this verse and ask the same question, like, why is Allah asking us to give charity? Why is Allah asking us to give Him alone? Shouldn't it be that He is the one who's give me the money? Rather, you have وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah has the treasures of the heavens and the earth. He's the one who bil-awla should be given this. Of course, the answer comes to that in some verses as well. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Upkeep the prayer, give charity, and give Allah a goodly loan. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ. Whatever you will give as charity of good deeds for yourselves, تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَخَيْرًا. You will find it with Allah in a better way and a bigger reward. So, of course, here the hidden implication, or not the hidden, but the implication of the verse is that whenever you give charity, whenever I give charity, I'm not actually helping that person. I'm giving it to myself. Okay? When Allah says, give it to me, of course, He is doing this in a way to inspire the charity in us. He's saying that, okay, Allah, Mr. Mushtari, you don't want to give to Abbas alone. You don't like him. You think he's rude, or he's not a nice person, or he's not a good Muslim, or whatever. You don't want to give him to charity. Allah says, okay, don't give to him, give to me. Give it as a loan to me. Forget he doesn't deserve it, he's not a good person. Give it as a loan to me. I will be the guarantor of that loan. I will give it back to you then, much more than what you're giving. So give it as a loan to me. And in this way, of course, you're benefiting yourself. So this is sort of like, in a way, Allah is trying to inspire that charity. He's trying to inspire us to realize that when we do good things, we're in fact doing it for ourselves. We are the ones who benefit. So when I give charity, the main person who benefits from it is not the poor person who gets maybe, the 10 euros to go buy some food. He just fills his stomach for a day. But for me, that 10 euros will stay forever. And I will forever enjoy the benefits of that. We have a narration from the Prophet Muhammad where he had slaughtered a sheep to eat, and then the neighbor heard that he had slaughtered a sheep. And so they came and said, knocked on his door and said, Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Can we heard you slaughtered a sheep today. Can we get some of that meat as barakah, etc. Kids are hungry. Of course, yes, please, some meat. Another person heard. Can we please get some? He gives some more. He gives some more. Until the end of the day, all of it he had given, and his wife turns to him and says that we gave away all of it as charity. The only thing that was left was this one leg. Out of the whole sheep, just one leg remained for us. And then the Prophet ﷺ answered that, no, don't say that we lost everything except the leg. Say that we lost the leg. Everything else is for us. Because what we gave as charity, it stays for us. What we eat, we ate, and that's gone now. Tomorrow it comes out. But what we gave as charity will forever remain with us. So this is the idea where Allah is trying to encourage us into doing these sort of charities. So when we help Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we're called to be the ansar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's the same idea. That in fact, of course, Allah doesn't need our help, just like He doesn't need our charity. He's just humbling Himself, or speaking in this humble manner with us to inspire us to do it. Okay, you don't want to help this person because you don't care about this issue, or you don't care about them. Do it for my sake. Don't you love me? Do it for my sake. Be my helper. Do it in my path. And of course, when you do that again, you're not helping that person in reality. You're not helping Allah in reality. In reality, you're helping yourself. So, of course, when we realize this, we come to the conclusion that being the helper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing a good action in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fighting in the way, doing jihad in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all a tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a blessing that Allah has given to me. Because it's for me, I'm the one who will benefit from it. If I die as a martyr and I'm given that blessing of martyrdom, then I'm the one who will benefit from it. I will be the winner. Not my army, not the battle that was won. That's not important. What's really important is I'm the primary beneficiary. So, of course, this is what Allah says in the Quran in Surah An-Nur when He says that, when He describes the Nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how it fills the heavens and the earth. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. It fills the heavens and the earth. Then He says, where is that light? Fi buyutin. That light will be found in houses. Adina Allahu an turfa'a wa yudhkara ismuhu fiha. In houses where Allah has given the permission that His name is mentioned and He is remembered and His name is praised and lifted in those houses. So this is as a permission it comes to those people. رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. These are men, these are people who neither trade nor work or anything like that is distracting them from the remembrance of Allah. So this is a tawfiq given to these people because of their high station. Same way, being a helper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that is given as a blessing to a person. You get the tawfiq of doing that. That's why in ziyaratul warith, for example, what do we say to them? Saying, Ya laytani kuntu ma'akum fa'afuza ma'akum. When we give salam to the shuhada of Karbala, we say, oh, I wish I had gotten that blessing. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with that. Unfortunately, I wish I was blessed to be with you and to die with you. So, فَأَفُوزَ مَعَكُمْ. So I would have succeeded. I would have risen to this height. So that's why, of course, shahada, martyrdom in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something, as we mentioned last week, it's nothing you can guarantee for yourself. As some of these extremists try to guarantee for themselves by committing suicide bombings. Saying, oh, this way I will guarantee martyrdom for yourself. You can't guarantee it for yourself. By killing yourself, you're not going to reach martyrdom. Martyrdom is a blessing that Allah gives to the warriors on His path. It's not something you can get for yourself, steal for yourself, cheat it for yourself. It doesn't work like that. Yeah? It's a blessing that you have to be given. It was quite touching. I was in Iran and there was I was talking to a man who had lost his legs in the war. And coincidentally, also one of the very romantic things I've ever heard. He was talking with we were many people there. We were sitting talking, and then he was saying that his brother had died. Both his brothers had died in the war as well. Like they were together in actually one company, and the bomb had hit. He had lost his legs, and two of his brothers had died, and many other people who were in the bunker at the same time. Bomb had hit their bunker, and then he was like. He said that sometimes I wished that I had been given the blessing of dying with my brothers as well. That they got the martyrdom and it was denied to me. And I sometimes ask, why did Allah deny it for me? And then he said something very romantic. He said that if I had gotten the martyrdom, I would have gotten these huris in paradise. But then he turned to his wife and said, Alhamdulillah, God gave me one of the huris in advance. Very romantic of him as well. But of course, the profound understanding that he had of that is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That his brothers were actually honored by Allah with this station. He was, of course, had to wait for that honor still. But so this is a blessing. Adina Allahu an turfa'a. Allah will give the permission to these people to remember His name. He will give them the permission to reach these high stations. He will, as Allah Ta'ala says, Al-idhnu fi shay huwa i'lamu irtifa' al-mani' an fi'lihi. That giving permission to something means that He announces the removal of all obstacles from it. So, of course, as the verse continues, that لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع, neither business, buying or selling, don't distract them. So Allah is removing these distractions from their life. He is giving them that blessing of singularly focusing on His worship. As we have in the hadith, Imam Jawad alayhi salam, when he was in prison, he went to sajda and he thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said that, oh Allah, when he was in prison. He said, "Oh Allah, I used to complain that I don't have time to do the prayers in the way I wanted to do them. I didn't have time to remember you in the way you deserve to be remembered. Thank you for giving me the blessing of time that now I have all day to remember you, to worship you." So this is, of course, removal of the barriers as a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we are given that blessing, of course, we have, if we want that blessing, we have to work towards it. It's not, this permission, of course, is not given on a sort of whimsical basis by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not whimsical. Again, just like the mountain, it's based on the taqwa of the person. So you have to work towards it. So Allah says, إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرُكُمْ. If you aid Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you work in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you strive in the way of Allah, if you dedicate yourself in His way, يَنْصُرُكُمْ, He will help you. The foremost help is what? Of course, that blessing, that you can work in His path, removing all those obstacles from your way, removing the obstacles for you to dedicate yourself to Him. And of course, more than that, He will, of course, help you in this world as well. So this is a more practical advice as well of the verse, that the secret to success is, of course, that you have to work for it. There's the joke that the man he goes to Kaaba or Ziyarah or whatever, and he prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, let me win the lottery, please. I want to be very rich. Let me win the lottery. A year goes by, he comes back, and he hasn't won the lottery. And he's like, Ya Allah, I came here last year, all this difficulty, money I spent to come all this way, and I didn't win the lottery. Please, this year let me win the lottery. He goes back. Another year goes, and he comes again, and then he again starts praying, and then the angel comes to him and says that, look, if you want to win the lottery, at least go buy the ticket. If you want to succeed, you have to take the step. Of course, lottery is haram. But the idea here is, of course, if you want to succeed, you have to take that first step as well. So, you have to, if you want the nasr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the nusra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to help yourself. So, if you want to be, and I always say this is a very important reminder to us as a community, and I always say this, as a Muslim community, we cannot just sit idly and pray that, oh, Allah help us, or expect that the government will come and help us, or another organization will come and look after our interests and needs. No, we as a Muslim community must look after our own needs. We must look after our interests. We have to strive in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we do that, Allah will aid us as well. He will then, if He sees us sincerely struggling in His path, the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come as well. So that will come. Yansurkum, He will help you. And then, in addition to that, Allah mentions another blessing for those who are His helpers. وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ, He will make your feet steady or firm. So one, of course, meaning of making the feet steady is that He will, I think it's pointless to record it. One of the meanings of making it steady is, of course, that meaning that He will make us firm in our decisiveness. When we made the decision to do so, He will help us be decisive in that decision, so we don't waver anymore after that. Okay? So, of course, this decisiveness is what's required for a person to keep going from one success to another, for succeeding in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So of course, it comes in these gradual steps. And aqdam, of course, the steps are mentioned here as well, in the feet, because when we go with our feet, we have to take one step after another. If I want to go over there, I can't jump in one go. I have to take my steps. I have to take firm steps. I take one step determinedly, then another, and that's how I proceed. That's how I get from A to B. If I waver, if I stumble, if I become undecisive and I go back a few steps, I take one step forward, 2 steps back, I'm never going to reach my destination. With decisiveness, going one step after another, reaching those goals, ticking one sort of thing after another. So, if you take, for example, the prayer, it works in the same way. Step by step, we reach that determination. So in the beginning, of course, we all prayed. Why? Well, because our parents told us. They taught us and they said, okay, pray. In the beginning, we just do it because our parents are saying it. Yeah. Then the next stage is, well, you start becoming more responsible as an adult. You realize, okay, you reach the age of taklif and you realize, okay, actually, I should pray because I want to get to heaven. I'm a Muslim. It's my duty. I must do it, etc. That's the next stage. Now you're understanding why you're doing it. At first, it was just a habit, being told. Now it's with understanding. Then the next stage is, of course, because you no longer doing it because of paradise or because of these things. Like Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Why? Because of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you want to do it. You desire to talk with Allah. You miss talking to Him. You want to wake up in the night and talk with your loved one. Yeah? Because you miss Him. You want to be close to Him. That desire for closeness. Then finally comes that final stage which is mentioned in Surah An-Nur. That you understand that actually this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Imam Jawad in the hadith, understand, Ya Allah, you have blessed me with this opportunity to do it. And you become thankful for that worship. Yeah? So you pray and you say, Alhamdulillah, I had the blessing of praying. These are the stages that one goes in understanding, coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Yeah, so when you're explaining the process, you need to come with the first step and then is it a kind of, it just works for Muslims or it works for, it's a sunnah? Everybody, any religion or non-religion. So if you do this and be more, try to practice, so
of course,
yeah.
That's the importance of pondering and thinking about your actions. So even the Christian, if he pauses and he thinks, why am I doing these rituals that I'm doing? Why am I doing this thing? Why am I going to the church? What is God? Why did God create me? What is waiting after? When you ask all these questions, especially with sincerity, Allah will help guide you to the truth. Allah will help you realize things. He will open your eyes to the truth. So even the Christian, then he will come to the reality of Tawheed if he's sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will come to the reality of why I should do these things, why I should give charity, why I should help others, why is it important to be a good person. So realization will come. So just doing it out of habit, yes, there's benefit in it. Because at least it's having that minimum benefit of you at least understand that it has some importance, this action. So even if I'm praying and I don't concentrate on it, and I don't think about my prayer from Allahu Akbar of Takbiratul Ihram till Assalamu Alaikum, I was thinking about other things, If from the beginning to end I didn't concentrate, it still has a minimum benefit. Because at least I realized that, it's important for me to stop what I'm doing, make time, go pray. So even then it has a benefit. Of course the benefit is minimal. It's the minimum benefit. But if you want to get to the true benefits, then yes, having the khushu, the fearfulness, the hudurul qalb, the presence of the heart, and all these things, these will then maximize those benefits. Yeah. But of course, this all requires that it is founded on faith. So that's why the verse begins with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe in Tansurullah. So no, just I will fight, for something else, for some other cause. I will struggle for some other cause. No, to do it based on faith for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the niyyah is of course the determining factor, as always. Yeah. Yeah, وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ, He will make your feet steady. We can finally also mention here that, of course, again, reference is, like in the previous verses, made to that if we are forced into the path of warfare, if we're forced to fight to defend ourselves or what is just, again, the determination should be there. No half measures. يُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ, have firm feet. Don't take one step forward, 2 steps back. Just like earlier we said, the whole idea of striking the necks and overcoming the enemy and decimating them and all this thing, these are all, of course, metaphors for what? Being decisive in the battle, making sure to try to end that battle, being determined to bring that conflict to a resolution and not leaving it unresolved, which will then only make it continue and the fitna will continue and so on and so on. So having those firm feet is again a metaphor for seeing things through to the end, making sure that the good conclusion is reached and not half measures. Yeah? Otherwise, no end to the conflict will be reached. Yeah, we have time for the next verse as well. I'm wondering if that room is empty, let's maybe move over there. Yeah, let's just move quickly. A lot will be wretchedness. Ta'as, of course, literally means to fall or to stumble. So when you're walking and your foot wavers, you fall, stumble, or stumble and then fall. That's the meaning of ta'as. Of course, it also has the wider meaning of halaka, of destruction. So here, maybe that's what he means by wretchedness, or the sort of wretched. Someone who's wretched, he's lost everything. And of course, this is a very beautiful sort of contrast to what was said earlier. يُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ, the believers, their feet are made firm by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas the kuffar, what? فَتَعْسًا لَهُمْ, they will be destroyed, they will stumble and fall, So this comparison of both. Of course, يُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ literally meant make your feet firm, but had the sense of determination. And here for the kuffar, فَتَعْسًا لَهُمْ has the meaning of being destroyed, of not reaching a good end, being wretched. But again has the literal meaning of stumbling and falling. So very beautiful use of this language to sort of compare and contrast these two. As we said again, the theme of the surah was not comparing mu'mineen and kuffar. So there's always this contrast between these two is brought about, and here very beautifully with these two words. And of course, so ta'as is we can say here is the opposite of thubat, of that determination that is ascribed to the believers. So this of course brings us to that idea of sort of having principles and not having principles. Someone who has thubat, someone who's well established, who's unwavering. He's unwavering. Why? Because he's got principles. He stands by those principles. Whereas someone who doesn't have principles, he's pragmatic. One day he's your friend, another day he'll backstab you in the back. He doesn't have principles. He has no thubat. He's always stumbling back and forth from one position to another. It's like politicians nowadays. They always say what's popular. They don't care what's right or what's wrong. They want the votes, isn't it? A crooked politician, or most politicians will be like this, isn't it? So there is no principled approach to issues, and that's of course what Islam is very different. So that no iman is based on principles, and that's why there is that sort of determination. That's why there is no wavering for the believers, because they're standing by their principles. So this is of course a discussion that comes up often in the West for us Muslims, that when we try to stand by our principles, of course one of the biggest ailments of Christianity now is that it hasn't had that thubat. It hasn't been able to stand by its principles. For example, in Finland, the church is very much like this. That most people accept homosexuality. Well, we have to revise our opinion on this, make it accept. Most people accept children born out of wedlock. Okay, we have to revise our position, even though these were abhorrent things in the past, and Christians used to frown upon them a lot. But now it's changed. Most people do this, X, Y, Z. So they're revising these positions one by one. There is no thubat. And that's, of course, an argument that they level against Muslims. They say, why don't you do the same thing? Why don't you revise your principles? Why don't you change your faith? I've given this example many times. When I was in university, there was a representative from the UN Human Rights Commission came there to give a talk in our university, and then he was a Muslim, and he was talking about Islam vis-a-vis human rights, and he was saying that we should strive to interpret Islamic law and tradition in a way that it conforms with human rights. And so I asked him that, okay, if we now today reinterpret X, Y, and Z to be in sort of in line with what UN human rights says now, is there a chance that tomorrow they will revise some of these things, and they'll change them, and then we should revise once more again? He said, yes, that's possible. There's always discussion and there's always revision going on in these things. So I said, then what's the point? Why we should revise for something that tomorrow you will say that actually we were wrong and this was not how it's supposed to be, and this is how it should be. So this is the idea of principles versus lack of principles. So if we have the thubat, if we are believers in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have to stand firmly by those principles. If we believe that something is clearly our duty as Muslims, then, we have been commanded by Allah to do it or not do it, then we can't just sort of do it on the basis of how we feel like and how we sort of think we should do it. So if we are like this, of course, we will always be stumbling and falling. We'll always be going from one position to another. And of course, وَأَضَلَّ أَعْمَالَهُمْ the actions will go astray. The actions, we talked about this, إِضْلَالُ الْأَعْمَالِ, the actions going astray before. Of course, that previously had a different context. Now it's another context, and it's the context of lack of determination. So when you don't have determination, your actions won't reach those desired goals. So the kuffar, because they don't have the determination, the principles to stand by something, they will not reach those goals that they have set for themselves. They will not be able to. Their actions will go astray. And of course, it has again the theological meaning as well of what we talked about before. That if a non-believer does good actions, why is he not rewarded for them? If you guys remember, we had this discussion. Yeah? So theologically, that's there as well. And again, this is an answer to that, but it's looking at it from a different perspective, giving us another reason. Why are these actions going astray? And of course, the reason here is given for ta'asannam, because they're stumbling. There's no principles. To clarify this, there's the adage in English where we say the atheist in a foxhole. So the idea here is that if someone is an atheist and they're stuck in a foxhole, meaning that they're stuck in a very difficult time in their life where they have no options. You're lost in the desert. Who do you turn to? Who's the atheist going to ask for help? So the argument usually is very made that he will turn towards God. He will turn to a higher power. He will turn to God. He will pray to whoever and whatever to get help. So that desire is there to turn towards someone to get that help. And this is, of course, something that is referred to in the Quran as well. فإذا ركبوا في الفلك دعوا رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Okay, we continue with our tafsir of Surah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we've reached the end of verse 6. وَيُدْخِلُهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ عَرَّفَهَا لَهُمْ, and He will admit them into paradise with which He has acquainted them. So the talk was about, of course, the mujahideen on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Last week we talked about them and the great station is awarded to them, and of course that station, we said, was in connection to the taqwa of the person. So it's the taqwa actually that determines the station of the martyr. It's not just dying on the battlefield. Not everyone who dies on the battlefield will reach the status of martyrdom. It is the one who does it on the way of Allah. We said that in the same way, of course, that station can be reached by others even if they haven't died on the battlefield. So we said that the hadith from Muhammad ﷺ, that whoever of us dies, he dies in his own bed, but he is living a life of taqwa, then of course he will have the same status of a martyr. That's of course, martyrdom, as we said, was an indication of the taqwa of a person. That someone who was willing to let go of everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone like Imam Hussein alayhi salam had many chances to relinquish his position and be given a worldly position and be given worldly life and good and ease, like many others in his time who didn't make that choice. But it was the taqwa that barred him from doing that, and his companions. It was the taqwa that stopped them from turning back and choosing. When they board the ship, and of course if that ship comes to trouble and a storm hits or whatever, دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين. Those same mushrikun who are now praising the idols or denying the existence of God or whatever, you will find them that they will be the ones who will very sincerely be calling for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مخلصين له الدين. With very sincerity. Why? Of course, because they're scared for their lives. Very, very much asking for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَّا الْبَرِّ إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ. But then when He rescues them to the dry land, you see that they will once again turn away from Allah. They will associate others with Him. This is of course the general meaning here being that, when if someone is stuck in a problem, and then they very sincerely pray towards God, and they very sincerely ask Him and worship Him, etc., and make tawbah and all these things, but then as soon as they get out of that issue, as if this had never happened, they go back to their old ways. So of course this again raises the question that, okay, well, what about all this dua they did, and this belief in the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they had, even if momentarily, should this not be rewarded? Should this not be answered? We have this hadith that anyone who has even an ounce of la ilaha illallah in their hearts, they will not stay in the hellfire, etc., so on and so forth. So again, the theological question comes up. So what about this? What about in this situation, when he's stumbling and he's calling for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Will he be answered? Will he get the reward for those actions, etc.? So then, of course, no. They will not be rewarded for these things. Why? Because the thubat has to be there. So, as we mentioned earlier, you have to have those principles. So faith in God, and this is a sub-theme in the surah as well, that comes up many times, that faith in God must be on God's terms, not on your terms. You don't set the terms to what to believe in and what not to believe in. I will accept this commandment, I'll reject this one. Allah tells me to fight. I talked about it last Friday. You were here.
Yeah.
So it comes in Surah Muhammad later. Allah orders them to fight, and they say, we don't want to fight. So you can't do that. You can't say, okay, I believe in God, but then He tells me to do something I don't like. I'm like, forget about it. This wasn't for me. That's not faith then. Yeah? So you have shown your lack of faith. Allah says that they have a disease in their hearts. Yeah? And it has been revealed through these things. And that's something that comes up many times in this surah. That through these trials and tribulations and these difficulties, Allah will reveal the faith of these people. So it can't be on your own terms. It can't be just when I'm in the foxhole, I become a believer in God, and then when I get out, I'm again an atheist. That's worthless faith. That's not real faith. And that brings us to a wider issue, which I don't think we will have time to do today, but it's called, we'll touch upon it and we'll do it more in detail next week, inshallah. Al-Muwafat. So the idea in Islamic theology that is touched upon in this verse and in the following verses and many times in this surah. Again, one of the themes, again, sub-themes of this surah. Muwafat is the idea that, as the scholars summarize it, al-ibaru bil-khawatim, the determining factor is how things end. The determining factor of things is how they end. So with this they refer to the faith of a person. So the status of the iman of a person. Yeah? Whether we, again the theme of the surah, consider him a mu'min or a kafir, is based on how it ends. How he comes to the point of his wafat, his death. Yeah? So this is what muwafat is. So the idea there being that, if I believed in God and then I turned away and I died as a kafir, am I considered a mu'min or am I considered a kafir? Oh, we know the answer. You will be considered what?
Kafir.
A kafir, yeah? Al-ibaru bil-khawatim. It's how he ended it, So if Iblis started his career with thousands of years of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then he ends it as a declared enemy of Allah, in opposition to Allah, will we say, okay, well, I spent X amount of years as a good person and why Imam Abir is a bad person? We can say he was okay. No, we say no. You revealed your faith through those trials. So we'll talk about that inshallah a bit next week as well. But here again, it's a theological issue that's being answered as well. Why are they not being rewarded for these actions? And it's going to come up in the next verses as well. So we'll talk about it more in detail inshallah next week. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.